Hello and welcome to a brand new After Effects tutorial. I'm Tony King, and in this tutorial we will be making this simple sci-fi intro. Alright, there you go. I guess it could also be used as an outro as well, but I guess the main purpose is for an intro, I guess. And this is very simple actually, so if you're a beginner, don't get scared off. This is very simple, and it could be done a lot more intricately, but you know, I was going for a more plain and simple type construction for this intro, so that it's not too much but it's not too little at the same time. I think it looks pretty cool. Also, I want to apologize, I haven't made any tutorials very recently. It's because I had no ideas or many requests actually as well to actually make tutorials. So if you do have any tutorial requests, go ahead and comment down below, or just email me at tonykingvids@gmail.com. That is in the description. So yeah, here we go. So my comp here, let me go to my comp settings, is 1920 by 1080, 29.97 frame rate, and it's 6 seconds long, but it could actually be a little bit shorter. And I just realized that the whole time I edited this, I was at quarter resolution. Wow. Okay, so here we are at full res. So the actual effect actually ends after about 5 seconds. So I'm gonna go ahead and shorten this comp. Alright guys, so let's get started. As you can see, I have 19 different layers, but again, don't get scared off. This is actually simple. It's just sort of a little messy looking, but as you can see, it's just a bunch of splits of pretty much the same layers, so you have nothing crazy to worry about. So I'm going to turn off the visibility of all these layers first, and our very bottom layer is going to be our main background layer, which is a dark blue, solid navy blue, whatever color you want to call this. Yeah, just a regular solid comp size. And then we want to add the grid effect. And so I created a black solid, and then I added the effect under Effect, Generate, Grid. Pretty simple. You know, if you think about it, you're generating a grid. The effect is called Grid under Generate. So that works out nicely. So in Grid, you want to change the size form to width and height sliders and adjust it to how it best fits for you. For me, the width was 92.1 and the height was 85.2. That may be a little bit different. And yours is going to be, the color is going to be solid white, but I thought that was a little bit too showy, so I made it sort of a darker gray type thing, and that's all you have to do for the grid. Next, for the actual fade in, might be asking yourself how I did that. That was actually, I thought that was actually pretty clever in my doing. And so I made a black solid, and then I went up here to the mask tool, and I went down to ellipse, double click that to make an ellipse mask. Now what do? You go into mask settings by hitting M, and I inverted that mask, and I went ahead and went from the beginning, and I made the mask expansion, I made the mask feather first to 515, so it's very feathered out, and then I made the mask expansion to 543, hit the stopwatch, and then went over 2 seconds in and brought it to 143, so that it still is on the edges, a little bit of a stylized look, so that all these corners don't draw attention away from what's in the middle of the actual thing. So that's actually a very I thought it was pretty clever to fade in the center. I know it's nothing very creative, it's been done before, but I thought that looked good for this effect. So next what I did was, I've been thinking about this for a little while and I never got around to it, was to have sort of a well, let me just show you, was to have sort of these little triangle arrow type things and have the words come out of it, basically like what this effect is. So I wanted to actually animate this in properly. So, well, it's not really properly actually, come to think of it, but I wanted to animate it in. So let's go to my very first yellow solid here, which is on the bottom of all these. The ordering at the moment does not matter, so don't worry about that. So what I did was I turned off the black solid so I could see all the grid lines, and I created a mask along these grid lines like so. One wide, two, like one tall, I guess, on each end, then two grid units, I guess, in between these two, and 2 units across from left and right, pretty much. And that's all the masking you really have to do in this whole entire project. And here I turned back on that our little introduction effect. And so as you can see here, I added the stroke effect. I think that's also under generate stroke, yes. Then what I did was paint style on transparent. Make sure you're on all masks. It doesn't really matter because you only have one. Brush size, I went ahead and put it to 6.4. Brush hardness, I left it at 79. I think that's where it is regularly. And I started the keyframe for start at 100. And then before we actually end the animation on the outside edges part, just before 2 seconds, I brought it down to 0. So we have our outline here. And as you saw in the actual effect, we have a blinking on sort of the actual interior of this. So first of all, I made this is about 4 or 5 frames, 3 I think frames long, and I just deleted the stroke effect and I made it last 3 frames. Then I duplicated that again. Well, I duplicated that without the stroke effect. Then I made it last 2 frames, split it, so we have 2 actual solids. And then on the second one, I added the glow effect. That's probably under generate as well. It's not. Let me show you where it is, just so you know. It's under stylize, okay? Just so you don't get lost. Stylize glow. And then I set glow threshold to 60%, glow radius to 10, glow intensity to 1. I think that's just the standard, and that sort of adds like a little blink on, very brief. And then I waited twice as long, pretty much, between than I did on the first one, and I added the same glow effect to a little bit longer of a clip. That's actually about 4 or 5 frames right there, and I've set the glow radius to 40. And keep in mind that I'm keeping the actual stroke layer, because look how it looks like without it. I think it looks better with it, and that's why I kept it. So then finally, when our actual stroke animation ends, that's when it stays on. Our little interior glow thing stays on forever. Well, basically forever. And now, as you can probably already see, I spoiled it a bit. We have a lot of position effects. But before I get to that, I want to go ahead and let's create the white solid. So what did I do here is I duplicated these 2 yellow solids. All you have to do is select the 2 and hit Control D, and then I brought them under and I rotated them both by 180 degrees, and then I repositioned them right across from just to the right of our other. I didn't even change the position. All I had to do was rotate it, I think. No, I moved them, sorry. I just moved them to the side of that. Next, what I did was I keyframed the position on both of these, as you can see. And then I went in 14 frames. No, actually 15, yeah. And I brought them down so that they look like this, and I thought that looked pretty cool. I actually had a couple of different designs in making this. I had another white triangle that was facing the same direction, the yellow triangle, but I didn't think that wasn't going to work for the actual animation. So basically, you don't have to move them from right to left, just up and down by 1 unit. And since they're both moving, it actually makes a distance of 2. Then I moved over 1 frame, re-keyframed the position, and I brought them out about 3 or 4 frames each. And this is when the first text comes in. So I have Tony King and videos on that. So let's start off right when we're about to animate them in. And the effect I added was the Typewriter Effect. And whoops, I just showed you everything all over again. Okay, sorry. The Typewriter Effect. Here we go. So I didn't want to have to do all this masking. That would have been a lot of work, and it would have been difficult. So videos. First, what you want to do, of course, position it where you want. So on these text layers, by the way, I did add the same glow effect that I have on the solids with the glow radius of 57.0. So I positioned them along the grid lines. Now that I'm in full resolution, I noticed that they're not perfect, but it's okay for now. It doesn't matter. And so this is how I positioned them. That looks pretty good if you ask me. And so on videos, because these are different for both, you put the range selector and keyframe end to 100 at the very end, and simply 0 at the beginning, with the same time as with the solids position movement. On the actual Tony King here, you'll notice I didn't actually need to keyframe the end, but make sure you have the end down to 0. What we're doing here is you put the start to 100 with the end at 0, and then at the same end keyframe you put start to 0, and it animates in the proper direction. Now, as you can probably tell, King goes past where the white solid is right there, and that is why I put the text layers under the white solid, so it's less noticeable. If you did want to fix that, you'd have to mask around the white solid and beyond, and basically just set the mask to subtract. But I didn't think that was necessary for this. I thought it looked fine regardless. So next, I waited about 10 frames here before animating anything else, and that's when like and subscribe comes in. That's what you should be doing right now. Yeah. Alright, that gives you enough time to like and subscribe, right? I don't know, pause if you didn't do it. I don't care. Whatever. I don't know, I'm not good at plugging, huh? So at this point, we want to make a mask around our words, our different text layers, Tony King and videos, just so that it covers, around it, and the glow, because you don't want to cut off the glow. That would look terrible. Then duplicate those text layers and bring them off to where you're about to start the next animation. So then I retyped Tony King into like and of course that's longer than Tony King, or no, actually it's the same length, I think. Or actually it's shorter. I'm thinking of the next one. Sorry. Keep the mask there, and then for videos, subscribe took a lot more space up than videos, so you have to extend that mask out. Whoops, what did I do? Okay, there we go. I accidentally cut the mask. Okay, so at this point we want to actually animate the solids first, and we want to bring them back to level height. So that's just up 1 unit each. And at that point, I thought that would be cool to have a new animation that shows different words. And so why not just change it to like and subscribe? I only have like 150 subscribers, and I don't get a lot of likes, so it's worth a shot, right? So let's go and show you here all of these layers. It's very simple. Go to the end of the position keyframe on the solids, on videos and Tony King. We want to bring the mask down. On Tony King down because the yellow solid is moving down a unit, and on videos we want to bring it up because the white solid is going up a unit. But then I wanted to use the same direction on like and then also the subscribe layer, so I inverted those masks, and at the end we basically here, as you can see, it's basically like putting the mask on subtract, which is another way I could have done that. So the mask is in the same start position, then at the end we just bring it up and reveal like and also subscribe. So then I left that there for a second, for about 8 frames or so, a little bit less than for Tony King videos. And what do we do here? We did not have to keyframe the mask. I don't know why I did that, but let's go back, and we want to keyframe the range selector for the typewriter effect. Oh gosh, I'm making a mess of this. I haven't done this in too long. Okay, sorry. So next we want to bring our solids, our 2 white solids here that, well, I'm considering them one. We want to bring them back together in the center of the shot. That should be pretty easy. They should be at the same height, and all you have to do is bring them together. And what I did was here was the exact opposite of what I had done earlier on that text layer. Instead of starting at 0 on the range selector for end keyframe on subscribe, start at 100, go to 0, and then of course we have set end to 0 on like and we go from start 0% to 100% at the end. Then basically the I guess death of the shot here, the black overcoming, has already started from just a couple frames before we actually end our animation here. Then 2 frames after they meet up, I duplicated all of these layers, and I went in and I took out the glow effect, so all we have is a stroke on one and not on the other, just so it sort of shows turn off for a brief 4 frames, then it goes away and we cut to black. Well, we fade to black. So yeah, that was very poorly explained. I'm sorry. I'm out of shape, I guess. But I do think that following this, you should be able to create this effect. Well, I hope so. I hope you want to create this effect because I think it's pretty cool. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be very glad to answer them. If you don't want to comment them, you can always email me, TonyKingVids@gmail.com. I'll answer as soon as I can, as soon as I come up with an answer, really. When I see it, I check it very regularly though. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I shouldn't have to tell you at this point because you've seen the video already, but if you haven't already, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that, just because, show support for me, right? Yeah, I'll look to make more After Effects tutorials. I have a lot of them on my channel already, but I got a dry run here that I have to end. So yeah, I'm peaking at about like 20 minutes now. At least that's what my camera says. Probably gonna cut a bunch of stuff out that you, I guess, didn't see since I cut it out. But yeah, thanks again for watching. All my outros are very long, way too long. But I'll see you next time. Well, you'll hear my voice next time, unless you watch my other videos, which you definitely should. Weird White Guy's epic. But alrighty, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you. Well, you'll Oh, not again. Well, I'll see you next time.